Guys, what's up? I'm Mike Quist. Welcome. Boy, do I have something to show you. My kids are crazy. They break everything. These kids are insane. I'm gonna show you what they did right now. Check it out. If you're like me, you and your kids break a lot of stuff. This is a skateboard my kids cracked right in half. We break everything. Did you know Stone Coat can be your solution? I'm gonna show you in this video how I use Stone Coat, and I got a gift for you. You're not gonna believe this. Check it out. So I took that old broken skateboard and I turned it into this. This is a couple of humpback whales. My wife and I, we saw a couple of whales, and this inspired me to turn that old trash into treasure. I'm gonna show you that you could take broken plywood, you could take blemishes and dings and scrapes and scratches, you could take broken countertops, tabletops, desktops, and more, and you could revive and refinish them and renew them and repurpose them and save thousands of dollars. All right, we got an old broken board. Let's fix it, turn it into something cool. All right, now that we have our project prepped, whether it's an old skateboard or a countertop or whatever it is, you're gonna disassemble anything that you don't wanna get epoxy on. I'm gonna use tape to basically patch this thing temporarily back together, and then quick coat is my answer. This is really going to glue it and adhere it. I'm gonna use these shims to support the tail so that it keeps the shape accurate. I'm also grinding any grease and grime off of those trucks because I'm basically gonna set those trucks into the raw quick coat. I'm putting a little dam with the masking tape, and I'm gonna mix the quick coat at a 1-to-1 ratio. After mixing, I'm simply just going to pour this on the skateboard. I didn't know how well it would adhere because I really have that gap closed. I shoved that plywood back together. This was kind of a test, and the test came out fantastic. It held this board like you wouldn't believe. Now I just eyeballed where that truck was gonna go and put it in place, and I'm using a torch to remove any excess bubbles. All right, we'll let that quick coat dry. I thought it'd be a cool touch to put the wheels and the truck upside down and opposite. I think that's pretty cool. That's what we're gonna use to hang this board on the wall. It's pretty fun, turning trash into treasure. Here we go. Okay, this is about like an hour and a half later. It's definitely glued together. I'm just thinking if I come peel the tape, it'll come off easier right now. Well, a little early, I'll let it sit a little longer before I start painting it. Be able to sand this in about an hour. All right, the quick coat repaired this board really well. I think what I'm gonna do now is just sand this so I turn it into a nice canvas. It's got a little hole right here, so maybe I'll fill that up, fill up this hole. Let's like try to make this a really smooth canvas on the front and leave it kind of rustic on the back. What do you think? Rustic, smooth. All right, I'm gonna use some Bondo to fix any blemishes that I wanna hide on the surface of this board. Put a lot of hardener in there so it'll dry fast, but work fast. If you haven't used Bondo before, use a little bit less hardener. You'll have a little more working time. This is just the high bond filler. I like this because it's got a little bit better bond apparently. And I mainly like it because the hardener is blue, and so it shows a little bit different color here. All right, filling in all those holes here. Maybe some of the cracks. Go heavy there, let that dry. Any other little holes I want to fill? You'll never know that crack was even there. It's kind of cool that it was though. It's showing how awesome you can make an old skateboard. Okay, I'll keep this stick. That way I know when it's dry. Stick the stick. I sanded the surface of this deck to give me a nice smooth surface to paint on. Pro tip, whenever you're working with epoxy, I typically sand to 220 grit for great adhesion, but still a smooth surface. I'm using screws with a wide head to hold my skate deck to the easel. I love Deco Art paint. My buddy's the CEO over at Deco Art. He sent me some paint to test out, and I'm putting it right on top of my tape as my palette. Hey guys, let me know, what's your favorite paint if you're a painter? All right, what I'm doing right now is just giving myself a black backdrop on this skateboard. I'm using some of that paint just to give myself basically a primed backdrop. Then I'm gonna trace in or draw in my shapes. I'm looking at this whale shape. I love the shape that I've picked, and I used a Sharpie to actually block it in. I'm just using a few colors. I'm actually only using black, white, and blue, and I'm using a filbert brush to block in all of my color for my water, and then I'm using a small filbert brush to come in and block in some of the color and the patterns on my whales. I like blocking in the color to get some of the contrast just to start following and building what the shape and the movement of this whale is going to be. Hold on, I got to tell you about this surprise. I've gotten a lot of cool feedback on this particular piece of mama and baby humpback whale. And so I got a free gift for you, just to say thank you to you guys. If you're an art fan, if you're a Mike Quist art fan, I'm gonna give you some free art. Details coming soon. Check out how I fixed this board. All right, back to painting. As I'm blocking this in, I'm also looking at the lines and the contours. You know, humpback whales are quite complex, and I'm following those distinct lines on their underbelly to give it its movement. I found this photo, and I'm using that to get my composition cool. And I'm thinking, you know, on this, I'm actually gonna put a water line here, and then maybe an island up here, maybe some palm trees at the top, you know, maybe some light rays coming down into the ocean. This is a skateboard that I found right outside where that humpback whale presented itself yesterday at a beach. And somebody had rode this thing hard. About to pull out the airbrush. That's a pretty cool picture, and I thought it'd make a cool painting. What do you guys think? Let me know if you would add an island or if you would just keep it water. Would you do maybe a pirate ship or buried treasure? Would you keep this more elegant? Let me know, maybe even a sunset back there. How would you finish this off? I got my little studio going here. GoPro, been set up here on some paint sticks. Getting kind of a time lapse of painting this thing. All right, anybody interested in learning how to paint? Give me all the answers. My buddy Thornton from Artist Till Death really inspired me to jump on this airbrush and just practice and go for it and try new things. And I appreciate him doing that. And my advice is the same for you. Here I'm putting in some light coming through the water, and then I'm airbrushing horizontally across that. I'm using a freehand template to give me some sharp lines on the whales. You know, I was just playing with some different color techniques, different shading, practicing my airbrush skills, and then coming back and blocking in a little bit more light if I messed it up. You know, what I love about painting with acrylics, especially this Deco Art paint, it dries so doggone fast, I was able to fix any mistakes instantly. I come from oil painting, and you had to wait a long time to fix something because it was wet. I also love learning. I absolutely love learning new things and trying new things and honing those skills. So that's what I was doing, and just really enjoying painting this work. I hope you like this piece as much as I do. Check this offer out. I can't believe how cool my painting came out on that broken board. Guys, I have a gift for you. I'm gonna actually give you some of my free art. I love to paint, as you can see. I love painting different subject matter. I want to know, do you like this image too? And if you do, I'm gonna give you a free one. All right, this is how. All right, check this out. That's the mama and baby humpback. I've done some tiki boards. This is of the City of Refuge on the Big Island. This is a tiki that I drew, and a turtle that I took a photograph of and then I painted. This is a surfboard that I made look like an ocean scene with lava at the bottom. And again, all of these techniques can create functional art. That's a piece that I just did to make look like natural stone. But guys, my free gift right here, this is a print that I made off of my mama and baby humpbacks. Guys, if you want one of my free prints, I've got one of this guy and then I got one of this guy right here. If you guys want these, I made a few prints. I'm gonna put a link in the description. Just go ahead and click that link and you can get one of my free art prints. All right, back to the filbert brush. I cleaned the brush off a little bit and I'm gonna grab my dark. I'm just gonna start coming in anywhere that I may not like my painting. Can anybody relate? I added too many light rays. Also, I wanted to bring the water down a little bit, so I loaded my brush up with multiple colors. This is a pro tip on how to make realistic looking water. I just have a couple of different colors, white and blue, on my brush, and it gives a very realistic look. And then we get back to the airbrush. I was really happy with how my whales looked and I wanted to bring those light rays back in, so I masked off my whales so that I could bring that light right into them. And I loved what that did. I used easy release tape so I was sure I didn't hurt any of the paint. After removing my tape, I used the airbrush freehand just to blend in any of those light rays so they came below and above the humpbacks. I'm also adding a little bit more light towards the top of my waterline, and then I'll add a little bit of dark blue towards the bottom of the whales so that it all blends and gradients together. You know, I learned a lot of these techniques doing countertops, believe it or not. I use that freehand template to give me sharp, really crisp lines. I love my airbrush. If you haven't tried one, you gotta try it. Hey, thanks Thornton from Artist Till Death for inspiring me to get out of my comfort zone. Hey, I want to thank my friend Ed. I posed the question in our group, what should I do? How should I finish this painting off? And Ed suggested do a moon with light coming over the water. And I thought that was a really cool suggestion. I could just visualize it as I read his comment. So I followed Ed's advice and I did a moon with water being lit up by that moon, and I'm really glad I followed Ed's advice. Hey, thanks a lot. Hey guys, I read your comments, so be sure to comment. I'm asking a lot of questions, but hey, pause the video, answer the question, and continue. Let's interact, let's have some fun, and now let's highlight some water. I'm simply using some white and a little bit of highlights to go through and add where I think the top of the water is. I'm also using a palette knife, and then I come back with my filbert brush and just kind of brush those out. And you know, one thing that I've learned is practice makes better, not perfect. Remember, when doing any of these projects, you can always come back and add highlights or layers. You can always fix mistakes. It's only glorified paint. I'm using our normal stone coat countertop epoxy to coat this piece of art. I love the depth and the clarity, the pop that it gives all of my work. It really made this thing come to life, and it made it jump up about 10 levels. If you're an artist, if you're a countertop creator, epoxy does this. All right, I didn't like my water. I loved how the epoxy, the first coat, came out on these humpback whales. Wow, I love it. But I didn't like the water. It was still too blue. The moon needed to be more defined in its path. So I added another coat. I added some of that acrylic, and I just added some black and a little bit of deep blue to shrink that light space down more like you would see if you went to the ocean on a full moon. So I did that. I'm adding another coat of epoxy, but that's a pro tip. If you don't like something, let that epoxy dry. Now you do a layer on top, and it actually gives you this really cool depth. Plus, you can erase with your finger. You can literally scratch that paint or wipe that paint right off without hurting what's underneath it. All right, so I'm just mixing a little bit more epoxy, and I was gonna do another coat anyways. I might as well add effects and colors in between layers. All right, I'm gonna show you how this looks poured. So this is the black that I added, the black and the deep blue. And you can see how the water looks a little bit more realistic. I highlighted it. I worked on this wave a little bit more. And now I'm gonna add this coat. Now I just pour a ribbon kind of down the center, and then on the board I'll go on each side so it will flow down the tail and the front. And then I'll torch that air out, and you're gonna see how this is gonna look. I'm just using my hand to spread it on out. And this really just protects that paint long term. If you break surface tension, the epoxy will flow in all of these areas. All right, pro tip, when you go ahead and torch, leave one glove on, take one off. Use the torch with a clean hand and use your gloved hand to pop any excess bubbles or to tap it if you need to break surface tension. That looks pretty cool. That's sick. All right, I got a coat of epoxy on my painting and I'm really happy with it. I played with the water a little bit. I got the moon here, and the moon comes down over the water, lights up the ocean, and there's mama and baby humpback. I'll sand this and do maybe 1 or 2 more coats just to get this thing really flawless, and then I'm gonna take some photos of this, and I'll show you guys how to photograph your epoxy creations so that you don't get these lights. Who's interested in learning how to do that? And let me know. What do you guys think of this? You gotta love the depth that epoxy adds to any project. What do you think, Mitchie?
I think that's pretty sweet. I don't know what to say.
I even take old surfboards and I turn them into really cool wall hanging art. What have you thrown out that you should have saved, glued back together, and turned it into something nostalgic for your home? Hey, what about taking a pair of your son's old football cleats, or your daughter's ballerina shoes, dipping them in some of our bronze metallic epoxy and turning them into bronze pieces that you then put on maybe something that they've kept in their room for years that might have gone to the thrift store. Hopefully this video sparks those ideas. Guys, do you want a free piece of my Quest art? Click the link below. It's gonna show you exactly how for free. Go check it out right now. A good buddy of mine told me, get vulnerable. Put yourself out there and punch perfectionism in the face. Hey, that's true. I'm kind of shy about sharing my art, so give me a like, give me a thumbs up and tell me what you think of that art. I'd love to know, are you an art fan? Are you a collector? And what is it that you like hanging on the walls in your home? I love painting, I love creating art, and by doing things that mimic Mother Nature like earth tones and blues and doing different seascapes and things with epoxy, it's gotten me connected back to those roots, back to loving art. So guys, tell me what your passion is and tell me, do you have any functional art? Have you used these techniques in your home yet? Let me know in those comments. Everything I've used in this video can be found right there at Stone Coat Countertops. Go check that out. Order what you need to revive, refinish, and renew, replace anything that you've broken. Tell me, what have you broken? Let's fix it. Make sure you subscribe and ring the bell to get notified every time we have a new video. Thanks again.